Preach, teach, guide, and counsel. These are some of the expectations of a pastor. A pastor is a spiritual leader, a shepherd, a symbol of spiritual and moral integrity, faith, compassion, humility, spiritual and physical discipline. A man or woman that is supposed to provide spiritual and emotional support to his or her congregation. This applies to most leaders, just not the one that we're about to talk about today in this video. Technically, he does lead his congregation, just not towards the unwritten but obvious Christian doctrines, really. This one leads, forces his congregation towards his own disturbing and sickening desires.
News tonight at church in Meru is on the spot with members claiming the pastor in charge has been practicing cult-related activities to unsuspecting faithful.
Hii nyumba ilichomwa na Gen Z. Ndio walisema hatuwezi itikia hiyo maneno hapa kwa sababu ameharibu mboma zetu, ameharibu wazazi wetu, ameharibu watoto wetu.
Hebrews chapter 13 verse 7. Remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith. We were brought up to obey and respect authority, and especially pastors, spiritual authority. Go to church on Sundays or Saturdays or whenever you go to church and do as they do, right? Right? Just like the residents of Tigania would go to church on Sunday, only for them to find that there are some very strange ways of worship. For instance, women were encouraged to shave their hair and put it in a special bay. New members were asked to surrender their livestock and money. Some converts would allegedly drink blood and roll over the floor smeared in blood. I hope it's animal blood. Just saying. This was apparently done to purify themselves. Some of these services would happen late at night. Despite the late night worship, the women and children of this church that had roughly around 100 worshippers were asked to remove their shoes, wash their feet, and use that water to make tea and drink it. And to show a little more consideration towards the women, wives and mothers of this church, they had a little ritual that, when done well, would allegedly ensure that their husbands didn't cheat on them. Which is this ritual, you might ask? The women were asked to remove their and burn them in church. Like I said, these are just some of the weird ways of worship that this church would indulge in. In this chapter, we have established that this church had a very strong hold on women and their children, how and what they would do. But is there anything else they would do? Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 5. Again I looked and I saw all the oppression that was taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they have no comforter. Power was on the side of the oppressors, and they have no comforter. It is a sad and sickening experience when people in power force and manipulate their subordinates, in this case congregants, into doing diabolical acts, borderline illegal acts, such as the case of the 17-year-old girl at that time who was in secondary school. She was reportedly defiled and was about 3 months pregnant at that time. When she went to seek justice and record a statement. This is an abuse of power, a betrayal of trust, and especially the Bible, the Constitution, and frankly just common sense. Don't stand for defiling minors. But that's not saying that everyone was a victim. Majority were, but not everyone, as some women remembered seeing their colleagues engage in sexual acts and strange prayer sessions at the dark of night. But in all these strange illegal activities going on in the name of late night worship, were there people somewhere who recognized this for what it is, then managed to leave? Deuteronomy chapter 31 verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. They say change is inevitable, but at times change is not brought by circumstances, but by recognizing patterns, behaviors, beliefs that no longer align with what we stand for, realized and recognizing the crack, the brokenness, and the things we've grown accustomed to. Just as Bernard Kinyua, former vice chairman, realized these behaviors and patterns of this church, questioned it, and was asked to leave. Kinyua found a strangely slaughtered chicken and questioned the pastor about it, where the pastor ordered him to leave. He also took issue with the manner of worship. This was not an isolated incident, as some members say that the prayers they would have bordered witchcraft. This was a little too much for some people, as they would end up deciding to leave. Some did, but some weren't as lucky, because the process was much harder than they thought. Some members expressed that they felt like there's some kind of spell that was placed on them, making them feel powerless to escape from the pastor and other church spiritual leaders. And for those who managed to leave, well, they would be replaced. Apparently, some faithfuls and ushers were told to go and recruit more congregants, worshippers, new souls. But one might ask or wonder, why would anyone go ahead and do these things, partake in these strange doctrines, when everyone has freedom of choice and the power to say no? Well, they did because allegedly the pastor and the elders would force them into engaging in these acts by threatening them with sicknesses and barrenness if they refused. This might seem like an obvious no, an obvious I'm not going to do it. But the answer is very different when you're manipulated, threatened, forced by the spiritual leaders in power. When all you know is to never question authority. Questioning is disrespect, disobedience that will bring repercussions from God. Rule number 1 of any cult: lead with fear. And speaking of authority, how comes this church had been in operations for over 10 years allegedly? Did no one suspect a thing? Did anyone say anything to anyone? Isaiah chapter 10 verse 1. Woe to those who make unjust laws, to those who issue oppressive decrees. A human is a human and everyone has their limits. The members were pushed too much and break they did. They couldn't take it anymore. And they started coming out talking about the traumatic experience. John Chera, I'm very sorry if I'm pronouncing these words wrong. A resident said that after they discovered what had been going on for years behind the closed doors, they reported it to Njuri Cheke, who summoned him. And the pastor never showed. Dismissed. Now, moving on. Stories spread and majority of the locals couldn't stand this. They were angered by the abuse, harassment, cult-like tendencies, and especially towards children. So what did they do? Did they A, go to the police, B, confront the pastor in question, or C, Kenyan style justice? You chose C, you are correct. The locals marched to the church and set it on fire, burning it to the ground. Apparently, there were some rumors, mostly that was obviously the source was the church members, or mostly the pastor, I guess, that apparently were saying that the burning of the church was because of land disputes. This was brought to the attention of the police, who came to investigate it for church arson. Into their investigations, the police found that David Mururu would indeed threaten women between 17 to 70 years into activities, or else face the repercussions. According to the police report in Chiru police station in Tigania West Sub-County, the pastor has been ordering women and girls to strip naked, shaving their hair, and having sex with them inside of the church. 23 witnesses came forward, including the 17-year-old. Another finding was this. Joseph Murioki, area sub-chief, said this: "We have established that this is not the first time he has run afoul of the law with his preaching. He started in the neighboring village but was chased away by the residents before relocating to Kianjai." Investigations are ongoing, but the locals and victims are still seeking justice. Some wonder how this went on without the police noticing. But locals are shocked that this could happen in their midst, to people they knew, loved, and cared for. The pressure is on for the police. Robinson Langat, Tigania West Sub-County Police Boss, said this: "Once investigations are complete, we will arrest the culprit and charge him in court." Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10. "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." Remember, a pastor is a spiritual leader, a shepherd, a symbol of spiritual and moral integrity, faith, compassion, humility, spiritual and physical discipline. A man or woman who's supposed to preach, teach, guide, counsel, and provide spiritual and emotional support to his or her congregation. According to the teachings of Christ, according to the Bible, and according to acceptable Christian doctrines. So, is this a cult? You tell me. And I just realized, oh my god, I just mispronounced so many words. But anyways, away from that, give me some feedback. I would really appreciate it. Until next time, thank you for watching.